These 8 useful English words will boost your everyday fluency and your IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge score. And you won't just memorize them. You'll meet each one inside the story, feel what it means, then prove you caught it. That's how your brain keeps them for good. Walter had not spoken to another living soul in 9 days when the cat first sauntered into his garden. And he had no idea that one plump ginger cat was about to introduce him to half the street. He was a recluse by then, a lonely old man in a quiet house. The cat changed everything, though not at all in the way Walter expected. Since his wife had died, Walter had become a recluse. He kept the curtains drawn and the door shut. He spoke to no one at all. Day after day, he sat alone in his quiet kitchen, growing more glum and gray, until even his own reflection looked glum and unfamiliar to him. The world had simply gone on without him, and he had let it. Then, one gray afternoon, a cat appeared. It sauntered up the garden path as though it owned the place, a big, sleek ginger creature with a confident tail held high. It sat down on Walter's doorstep and looked at him through the glass, perfectly calm as if to say, "Well, are you going to let me in or not?" Against all of his own rules, Walter opened the door. The cat strolled inside, hopped onto the warm chair by the stove, and went straight to sleep. And just like that, Walter had a companion. The cat came back every single day after that. It became the one bright spot in his gray routine, a warm, purring companion who asked for nothing but a saucer of milk and a place by the fire. Walter began to live for those visits. He doted on the cat openly. He bought it little treats, brushed its sleek ginger fur, and talked to it for hours about his wife, his garden, his long-ago days. He named it Captain. And slowly, doting on that one warm creature, Walter began to feel a little less alone. He did notice, idly, that the cat was remarkably plump for a stray, but he was far too happy to wonder why. Then, one terrible week, Captain did not come. 1 day, 2 days, 3. Walter waited at the window, sick with worry, certain that something dreadful had happened to him. By the 4th day, he was as glum and gray as he had ever been, mourning a cat he had known for only a few months, as though he had lost his last friend in all the world. At last, unable to bear it, Walter did something he had not done in years. He put on his coat and went outside to look. He knocked on doors up and down the street, describing his ginger cat to anyone who would listen. And that was when the strange truth slowly came out. The cat, it turned out, did not belong to Walter at all. It belonged to everyone. Captain had been quietly roaming the whole street for years. The little girl at number 4 knew him as Marmalade and fed him fish every Tuesday. The young couple at number 9 called him Mr. Biscuits and let him sleep on their bed. An old woman 2 doors down had doted on him for a decade and called him simply my darling. Every lonely person on that street had a secret cat, a private companion, who roamed from house to house, and not one of them had ever known they were sharing him. It was, when Walter thought about it, the most wonderful joke. That fat, lazy, plump little cat had not been Walter's pet at all. He had been a tiny 4-legged thread, quietly stitching a whole street of lonely strangers together, and none of them had known it until now. Walter, the recluse who never spoke to anyone, found himself standing in the road, laughing out loud with people he had lived beside for years and never once met. Captain reappeared the very next morning, of course, sauntering up the path without a care in the world, having been off on some grand adventure of his own. But by then, everything had changed. The lonely people of the street had started knocking on one another's doors. They shared cups of tea and old stories and, endlessly, friendly arguments about whose turn it was to feed the cat. Walter was a recluse no longer. He had gone out looking for one lost companion, and a small, plump ginger matchmaker had quietly found him a whole street full of friends. Now, and did you catch all 8? Let's find out. An adjective meaning pleasantly round and full. A little fat. It describes a round, well-fed cat or a fat, juicy, ripe tomato. Captain was suspiciously this for a stray, the first clue to his secret. The cat was remarkably what? Pleasantly round and well-fed for a stray far too fed to be hungry. You. The word is plump. She picked the plumpest, ripest strawberries from the basket. An adjective meaning sad, gloomy, and low in spirits. It's the long, gray face of someone with no reason to smile. This is how Walter sat for years, alone in his quiet kitchen. Day after day, Walter grew more, what? Sad and gloomy. And Gray? Alone in his house? The word is glum. He looked glum all morning after losing the big match. A noun for someone or something that keeps you company. It's the faithful friend who shares your days so you are not alone. The cat became Walter's, the one bright spot in his lonely days. Just like that, the lonely old man had a warm, purring what? A creature to keep him company.
The word is companion.
Her old dog had been her closest companion for 15 years. A verb meaning to wander freely over a wide area with no fixed path. It's what wild cattle do across an open plain, going wherever they please. Captain did this from house to house all over the whole street. The cat had been quietly doing what? Wandering freely over the whole street from door to door for years.
The word is roam.
The sheep were free to roam across the open hillside. An adjective for smooth, glossy, and well-groomed, it describes the glossy fur of a healthy cat or a brand new sports car. Captain's ginger coat was exactly this, smooth, shining, and well cared for. Walter brushed the cat's what kind of shining ginger fur, smooth and glossy, for hours.
The word is sleek.
The cat had a sleek black coat that shone in the sunlight. A verb meaning to love someone so much that you spoil them. It's how a loving grandparent showers a small child with gifts and treats. Walter did this on the cat, buying it treats and talking to it for hours. He did what? Loved and spoiled the cat openly, buying it treats and brushing its fur.
The word is dote.
The grandparents doted on the new baby and spoiled her terribly. A verb meaning to walk slowly and casually in a relaxed, confident way. It's the easy, unhurried stroll of someone without a care in the world. The cat did this up the garden path as though it owned the place. The cat did what? Strolled slowly and casually up the path, tail held high as if it owned the street. The word is saunter. He sauntered into the room an hour late, without a word of apology. A noun for a person who lives alone and avoids other people. It's the hermit who shuts the world out and lives entirely alone. Walter had become one of these, with his curtains drawn and his door shut. Since his wife died, lonely Walter had become a complete what? Someone who lives alone and shuns others.
The word is recluse.
The famous writer became a recluse, never leaving his old house. Quick recap. How many do you still remember?
Plump.
Glum.
Companion. Roam. Sleek. Dote.
Saunter.
Recluse.
A new English story every day. Subscribe and learn useful words the way your brain actually keeps them. Inside a story you won't forget.